America to
Angel and the Wiz. I'm her counterpart today. I think of me as her second in command
really. I'm not
because she's
what?
under the influence of,
Love.
dare I say it, love.
Love.
That's what I was going to say. That's very nice. Okay, so now listen. In a couple of weeks, a friend of ours, Mackenzie, gave us a topic that she wanted us to do.
Okay.
We can't do it this week because we have to cover something really, really important.
Okay.
Let me start at the beginning. As is probably been construed by many of the people that watch this show, I'm probably not an Obama supporter, okay?
Wait. Probably.
Probably. Maybe
You
not.
like
There's like a chance.
there? What chance?
No, none.
None. Okay, so you are not.
I am not an
There
Obama
is no
supporter.
probably.
No probably.
He is
He is-
not.
he is
not.
not.
No, sorry,
In no
President
way.
Obama.
No.
You are not on a list.
But I started to think, and I started to
Can I
look
bring
back.
him as my +1?
Where?
President Obama. I don't know.
No,
but would
can't-
you allow
no.
him?
On this show?
Not on the show, but if you had a party and I was like, I want to invite President
No.
Obama,
No.
you wouldn't let me in.
I would let you in.
You wouldn't let him in.
No. And because I wouldn't want to be false to him.
You wouldn't be
and
false to him.
No, he would say something. That would be just, it wouldn't work. The Secret Service would have
you know
me
what
in the
would be
trunk
hilarious?
of a car.
It would be hilarious. I bet he watches this show.
I don't think so. I
You
don't
might.
Think so.
You never know.
It would be good for him if he did. He might learn something. He especially learned something this week. Why? Because I started looking back and I thought, you know what? I bet you I'm white, okay? I bet you a lot of white people that did vote for Obama in 2008, before they really listened to him and realized what he was going to do, they really felt this was a way to help, because I believe they wanted to, help heal the wounds of segregation. Most good people never wanted it, never believed in it, etc., 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 never, okay? And I think a lot of people that voted for him because they felt this would be a way to heal that wound. We would vote in an almost black person, okay, and then we would show the world that that race is not has nothing to do with getting ahead. Here you could get ahead whether you were black or black and white or white. You could get ahead. All right.
Okay.
And then as the time went by and people realized that he was a socialist, Marxist, communist, and he has to go because he's killing the country. I felt, that was a person like myself on my side, how I felt. And then I started hearing these little rumblings from the liberals. He wasn't doing enough. And I thought, my God, he's killing the country. What more do you want him to do? He's putting more people on food stamps and more people on government handouts, anything. But there's this guy. What's his name? Let me look it up. Shelby Steele, black guy, really brilliant guy, writes for the Wall Street Journal. Put up his picture. And he wrote something that blew me away because it is something I was thinking. And it made me realize that Obama, of all people, has turned his back on black Americans. And I started to listen to what some of the liberals were saying, and while they're all screaming for more this, more that, more that, what it really showed me was here was a guy that as a black man could have gone places and done things that it wouldn't have really been acceptable for a white guy to do, okay? He could say things, he could go places. And then I started looking back at some of the stuff, and it seemed like every time I was looking at Obama, he was surrounded by guys like me and you, white people. He wasn't surrounded by a lot of black people. And it started to make me wonder, well, why? Is he afraid to show his blackness? And then I started listening to some of the people recently that talked about the fact that he did this bus tour and all he did was go through white neighborhoods. Here is a guy that could have gone, what is the most important thing to help black America achieve what a lot of black Americans have already beaten this. They're already successful. Look, we work with people that are just, race doesn't enter their life. They just have normal days, they work, they come, they do, it's gone.
Right.
But for those people that need help getting out of that bind, that are enslaved by the civil rights people that want to keep them down so that they're,
I think at this point, though, that the only that doesn't exist.
Well, yeah, but it does in a lot of ways, and you can tell when you hear the kind of things that they say about them being oppressed. Bill Crosby said it better than anything. You're not oppressed. You're doing this to yourself. Look, your pants are down below your knees. You can't talk.
Yeah, that's
You
what I
don't.
mean.
You
It's
can't.
like that's what I meant, is that they're doing it to themselves. It's
Yes.
it's not us saying, oh, you
That's right.
you
Absolutely
know,
right.
our reaction is based on their
What they've done
actions
and what they do, right?
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, now, the most important thing Barack Obama could have done for the black American community would have been gone into those urban centers, fight to get better schools, fight to get better teachers, break down some of the get some of that money from the administrations and get it into the teachers in the classroom. Those are the kind of things that he could have done that would have helped those kids stay in school, get better educated. He could have reached out to the welfare moms that are told the more kids you have, the more money you get. These are all things that as a black man, they would have listened to. He could have reached out. He could have so to me, he's absolutely turned his back on those people. Here's a guy that could have really helped black America, those that needed help, because a lot of them don't, but for those that do, that are kind of stuck in that squirrel cage, he could have stepped in and he could have helped them, and he didn't do it. It's like, he's living in the white half of himself, not the black half. I mean, you see the way he walks around. Let me tell you something. I don't care what anybody says about this guy. He ain't walking down 125th Street in Harlem. He ain't going to do it. You know what I mean? And that's it's a sad thing, because here's this guy that could have done so much for these people, and what he really could have done was what America really wanted him to do, not shove health care down because of the people that he's worked that are behind him, that are making him do these things to destroy the country, and he's just a figurehead. But if he had been the right black guy, he would have done those things, and he also would have gone out of his way to bring peace between the races. Not, every time you criticize me, you're racist. Everybody that works around him, if you criticize him, that's what they say, you're a racist. He would have gotten rid of that word. In other words, Martin Luther King was never like that. You look at pictures of Martin Luther King, he was not surrounded by white folks. Martin Luther King was surrounded by black people. He was a black man. He was of his race. He supported those people. He did more for those people than anybody that's come since him. Everybody's tried to milk off his legend. The Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons and these other crooks. They've tried to keep the black people still chomped up about this segregation and stuff like that, where I bet you could walk into any business, any place in America and see white people and black people working together. I bet you right up there at Access, right where this tape is being played right now, there is white people and black people and Latinos, and they're all working together, and they don't see Latin or black or white. They still see boys and girls. That's okay. Okay, that's normal. But so I was just I started to see that of all the people he's harmed them the most. Do you know the greatest unemployment in the country is in the black community? 16%, when everybody else is at 9.1, which is a lie, a number anyway. And when you start to see things like that, you start to see that every policy he has done has been for his friends.
Well, let's talk about the unemployment, though. Some of it is, this is from my perspective, as seeing these black and minority students going out and, what are you going to do with your life? Are you going to go to college?
Right.
And it's this mentality. It's what I keep calling the now generation. They want to make the six-figure salary now.
Yeah, but you can't.
You can't. They don't want to work for it.
You see,
so yes, maybe the unemployment rate is higher for that,
right.
But you're looking because it's going to be higher because look at the way they dress. And if I was
hiring, you're not going to hiring.
And you came in and you walked up to me and said, "Hey, yo, what up, dog?"
Right.
You're done.
Out.
Interview's done.
You don't have to say anything else.
If you come in and you have purple hair and a million ear piercings and tattoos all over your body, and we're supposed to work in like a customer service,
right?
There's no.
You're out.
No, that's not. And that's not just, one, that's anybody.
Oh, absolutely.
I look at these students and I'm thinking, what are you going to do in 3 years or 2 years when you graduate? Where are you going to get a job? Because
Right.
even McDonald's is like, that's not going to fly.
They're not going to accept it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the fun now,
You
see,
look at some kids and I'm like, I wouldn't want you within a 10-mile radius of any place I'm going to eat because you might contaminate it.
Right.
You look
All that
you
metal.
look sticky.
Right,
Like
right.
you just look sticky and you
See?
make yourself. It's just gross.
Now see, and that's why I make this point. Here was this guy that had an opportunity, and I'm afraid that he's going to be remembered as a missed opportunity. I think he's hurt. I don't think he's going to do any permanent damage to race relations, because I think enough people see him for what he is to realize that he was way in over his head. He was totally incompetent and totally trained for the position he's in. And it shows in everything he does. Every single time he makes a decision, it's the wrong thing. This is a guy that starts a war by telling us when we're going to get out. That's not how you fight a war. He doesn't know what to do. But let me just say before you do, then you tell me. That's the point that I was trying to make before. He, as a black man, could have talked to those kids. He could have explained to them why this wasn't the right way to go. He could have talked to their parents. They would have listened to him. He could have talked to the black members of the male community and say, if you father a child, just having it is not fathering a child. You got to stay with that child. You got to help that child grow. All of these wonderful things. I'm telling you, Bill Cosby would have been a much better president.
Well, maybe for education and parenting and.
You couldn't have been. You couldn't be worse than this guy. But anyway, but I think.
I'll tell you this though.
What's that?
Since you're on politics, I think that the Democrats will win again. And the only reason I say the Democrats are going to win again is because right now there is so much infighting and bickering within the Republican Party that I've even heard Republicans say that it's not, that they're done, that they're embarrassed, by what's going on, and they're like, no, we're out.
Right. Well, but what I will share with you is that's just this right now, and I don't think you have to worry. I think there's going to be a healing that's going to come in the Republican.
Well, you think the healing's going to be Sarah Palin?
I absolutely do. I watched her again today.
Let me translate for you guys. The healing is Sarah Palin.
She is. She is the hope for this country. She is the hope for America. And I'll tell you something. She will not have a bad thing to say about.
If I could sit down with her and talk to her about her view on education and how she's going to fix the hot mess that started with Republican dear old dad Bush. He started it. He started it with No Child Left Behind. And it's just gotten worse.
Well, I would share to you.
I would love to sit down with her and be like, let's have a conversation about what you would do to fix education in this country.
Well, one of the things I would think that she'd say is she'd get the unions out of it more and let the teachers do more of it. I think she would get rid of the top-heavy administration and let the teachers be more involved. I think the money should go to the teachers, not to the administrators. I think the unions. I think the national
the NEA.
Are
you talking about this? He sends me an article about the NEA and the money and unions.
Just you can read it for yourself. I didn't make that. I didn't write that.
Let me tell you what I thought. So I read the whole article.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, okay, so the NEA does this, and so has every other union in America.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
I have two choices right now. I could expend extra energy to care about what somebody that I'm never going to meet in some position I'll never have is making.
Right.
Or I could focus on educating the children.
Oh, no. I just sent you that to give you some idea of what the problem is. That problem has to be fixed, not by you.
Right, and I'll tell you this, there is a problem, and it needs to be fixed, but it's not on my priority list to try and...
No, and there's only so much you could do to affect it anyway.
Right.
But what I'm trying to say is that structure, and that's the point that she talked about today, it's the structure that has to be repaired. And I don't want to get off on the soapbox about her.
It's kind of fitting to talk about unions, though, because we're taping this show right around Labor Day.
Oh, that's true. So. And the fact of the matter is that what they are doing is not in the interest of America. But just as a footnote, she said something today or she said something in this speech that, and I didn't plan on getting into this, I just happened to see it, that has already rippled all the way across the country. She says we should eliminate the corporate taxes so there's no more lobbying in Washington. Because the only reason all those lobbyists are in Washington is to get goodies from the government. She says, let's eliminate the corporate tax structure, and you companies sink or swim on your own. And let me tell you something, there are already rumblings about that. Just like I said, remember I talked about Wisconsin? The thing that was really happening in Wisconsin is the state was no longer collecting the dues. That's what it was all about. All this other fluff about medical insurance and retirement and all that, they were giving that up. They were ready to pay that. Remember? They said, "Oh, we'll contribute."
I'm paying it now.
Okay, well, we'll contribute. But
we didn't even vote on this.
I'm just saying.
Nothing happened. All of a sudden,
Okay.
out of my paycheck comes a retirement thing that I've never had to pay for. Now you're telling me I have to pay for it when that's like,
Well,
I'm a public employee.
Okay.
The
but-
state's broke. I get the state is broke.
Well, no, but
so take the richest 10% and charge them an extra 10%. Because if you're making a
Nonsense.
gazillion dollars a year, you can,
No,
and put it on something
no.
good. That's what I think.
But that's not the way it's done in America.
It should
This is
be.
not Greece. You know why Greece is folding? You know why France is folding? You know why all these countries are folding? Because that's the system they have. They pay people from the time they're born until the time they die, and they've run out of money.
Not pay them, no.
Yeah, they pay them. They give them medical for all their life. They have retirement at 55. They have mandated
Well, yeah, there's
vacations,
those problems.
paid vacations.
No,
What does
I
that
get
do?
that,
Yeah, okay,
but-
but the problem is that's what they've done. And that's the direction this clown wants to go in. He sees that as it's failed, and it's failing every place. And this guy is locked in the past. May I say something in Obama's behalf? In defense of him, he is merely a product of his youth. If you take the time to read his story, from the time he was born until the time they started hiding all his records, school, everything else, you can see that this is a kid who had no stable home, had no stable parents, had no nurturing, loving person except for a couple of communists who hated America. So that's how he was brought up. Our best ally in the world is England. He hates England because of something that went on because he was in Kenya and England was having problems with Kenya, and they did something to his grandfather, la-di-da. When he got into office, he took Winston Churchill's bust, which was a gift from England for the Second World War, and mailed it back to them. This is a guy who has serious psychological deficits. He has problems. Let's not call them deficits. Let's just say, listen, I went to a shrink for years. It was great. I got out of class. But the thing is, we got a guy in office that does not like America, that does not believe in our system, and has no idea what to do. If he had taken the stimulus money and spent it through people, and did we talk about this with the real estate and all that stuff? In other words, the idea is he took the money, he gave the money to the banks. No, so that the banks would own the homes. Okay, they got the asset, and over a period of time, that asset's going to increase in value. If he had taken the stimulus money and given it to the people who had the mortgages with the stipulation that they must pay the banks would have still gotten the money, but the people would have had the asset. He does not believe in the people.
In his defense, I've seen some of the people who got some of these mortgages. I wouldn't trust them to be paying the bank either.
No, you wouldn't do it that way. You do it in such a way where the money went to the bank, but they retain the home. They still need a place to live. Okay, and we don't want to go into that. We don't want to open that can of worms because there was something called the CRA, the Community Reinvestment Act, promoted by Billy Clinton and passed by the Democratic legislature. And the purpose of this was to say, if you want to have another bank branch in your area, you're going to have to reinvest money in the area, in your locale. And what does that mean? It means you're going to have to give loans to people that could never qualify before. And so what did they do? They wrote loans to people that couldn't afford to pay them because the only way they could grow their business was to do what the government said. They did it. They wrote the loans to people that couldn't pay them. And then when they started getting stuck, they came to the banks and said, it's okay, sell them to Freddie Mac. the government agency, they'll buy them all. So you're always protected. So we have the government passing a law saying that they can't expand their business unless they give out bad loans that they would never have given out. They give out the bad loans with the protection of knowing that they can then take those loans and sell them back to the government. That's I'm telling you, she was right today when she said we got to go. She didn't say this. I would have said this. Go in with a Thompson. That's not the solution to just wipe them all out.
I still want to talk to her about education.
I wish you could. If she should ever get in touch with the show, I give you my word.
Ms. Palin, let's have a conversation about education, please.
It's Mrs. Palin. You didn't say Mrs. Palin.
I know.
That's no,
Mr. Ma'am.
Okay. But the fact of the matter is that then that's really how this, and that's why we have the problems that we do. And what it means is, and she made another good point. She said, what we need to do is we need to do swift, solid change. And of course, the people that are in bed in Washington, they're not interested in swift, solid change. They like she said, they keep telling us they're going to cut, and they never do. They keep telling us they're going to do this, and they never do. Why? Because they're down. The 7 most wealthy communities in America are right around Washington, D.C. You know what I'm saying? We have a. If this was a fish, it would smell bad. Okay, and
I hate fish.
Well, I don't eat fish either. I'm not really a fish. Oh, let me hear. Okay, so that was my thing. I'm very sorry that he did it, but he sold you people out, and I don't know why he did it. And let's hope and pray that someday we get a really great president. Black
By the name of Sarah Palin.
Well, no. I wanted to go past that because you see,
okay.
Nothing would have made me happier if Obama had been a Martin Luther King. If he had been elected president, everybody would have benefited. The black, the white, the Latinos, everybody would have benefited because he was a man that didn't see color. He was a man that saw people and their character and their hearts. What a great man. And look what we got in his place. Yuck. Okay? Be that as it may, let's hope someday we get a really fine gentleman to come through, or lady, Latino, black, doesn't matter, a minority that is there, that loves America, loves America's exceptionalism, wants to help America be all that it can be. You know what I mean? Not somebody that can be purchased. And that's what we have now, and that's unfortunate. But I wanted to say something.
Okay.
Last week I mentioned that this Christmas we're coming out with, this is the mock-up. This is what it's going to look like. It's going to be a 2-disc set. And I put a little picture up, and I forgot to tell the people that if there's anybody at home that would like a free copy of this CD, DVD, it's coming out after Thanksgiving, send me your mailing address, and I will send one to you at no cost. We'll pay for the mailing, we'll pay for the product, and it's so far, it's pretty good. From what I've heard of it, that's good. How are we doing time-wise? We're good. So now, let me just give you a tease for next week. So, yes, you're going to, you're getting a few, so you're not worried about it. Okay. So Mackenzie says to me, I said, hi Mackenzie, send this to me on an email. And she didn't want to say it. But she says, do you know that there is things happening in the social networks, bullying, suicides, things are happening in schools, kids are ganging up on people through Facebook and Twitter and all these other things, that these social networks are really impacting and stuff like that. So I thought maybe next week we could talk about that because you're a social network type of person, and you might know all about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that will be next week. What? This is unbelievable. This has to be mentioned. Think about this. Gibson Guitars. They make guitars. They are not terrorists. They do not make roadside bomb devices. Gibson Guitars, that uses the same wood as most all guitar manufacturers in this country, was raided by armed
for the second time.
Federal officers. For the second time. People were taken out of the building. They went in, they confiscated all of their stuff, made them temporarily shut down. And what was their sin? They donated to the Republicans. That's
Really?
wrong.
Really?
That's wrong.
They have it no.
No, I'm sorry. You could say anything, you can produce any paperwork you want, but it seems that they weren't paying the right people. That's the problem that we have in Washington now.
No. What the truth
You may offer
is that there was a investigation that some executives from Gibson Guitar knew that their wood in the guitars was imported illegally from some forest somewhere, which was on the do not import list or something like whatever it was.
That's
and
the story, yeah.
No, that's not that. Yeah,
that is the story, because all the other
you
guitar
are such.
there are other
conspiracy theorists.
No, there are guitar manufacturers that use exactly the same wood, that got it from exactly the same places, and none of them were bombed with a bunch of riot police in cop gear with guns drawn, and none of them showed up at any of those places. Just Gibson. And I am telling you that's wrong. Wrong,
It has nothing
wrong,
to do with
wrong.
politics.
Yes, and how do you come to this conclusion?
Because how many thousands or hundreds of companies donate to Republicans, and you don't see the FBI breaking down their doors, do you?
We're talking about a specific manufacturer, Gibson.
Right.
Okay. Well, okay, great. I'll take it. Okay.
I'm sure
It's not
Disney
just because
donates
they
to
were
Republicans.
but there was a reason. This was
because
these people.
where they
no,
were getting
these
their
people
suspected
was,
war
and you know what they were told?
funding terrorism.
You know what they were told? They were told if you want to stay in business, get the wood in Madagascar, manufacture in Madagascar. What these people were doing
Where'd you
was
get
the
your
same.
information from?
From
I
the-
get
it's
mine
a-
from NPR.
That
It's
says so much,
CNN.
doesn't that tell us?
And, like,
CNN.
news
Why don't you say?
feeds.
Go ahead, say the last one. MSNBC.
No, I didn't get it from
No, good. Thank God.
Google. I got it from Google.
Right, Google. .gov. Okay. So anyway,
For
and
the
that is
record,
that-
your Google.gov it was still in existence when
Google.
GW was in office
Google
and had no problems.
works for the government now. Google is a part of the government. You haven't heard that
You're
story, have you?
crazy.
I'm not crazy.
You're
Listen,
crazy.
but
It's crazy.
whatever I am, I've been saved by the bell.
Thank God for you.
Because it's time for us to go buy a Gibson guitar. And if you want one of these, she's taking this one. It's empty. But it's a 2-disc set, and if you would like it, we'll be happy to mail it to you for free. Don't come out till Thanksgiving, but I'll take the emails if any time you want. Okay,
gotta
next
put a
week,
deadline on that email.
social media and its dangers.
Social media is dangerous. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Do something good every day.
Even if it's just a little bit.
Donate to your time to your shelters.